Thank you. I'm Mr. Lehner, and welcome back to Mr. Lehner's Math Extravaganza. In today's webisode, we're going to take a look at examining algorithms for dividing fractions. Now, you might be asking yourself, what exactly does that mean? Well, an algorithm is kind of like a plan to solve any type of problem. So when we look at a division algorithm here, it's going to help us anytime we're working with dividing fractions. Let's take a look at what we mean. Basically, there's an algorithm you can use to divide any two fractions. This includes mixed numbers. So I know fractions are your favorite thing to do, especially division. It kind of sounds like it could be hard, but if you follow these simple rules to the algorithm, you can solve any type of division problem involving fractions or mixed numbers. Let's take a look at an example problem. If I have 1/3 divided by 9, that's going to equal 1/27. Now, there's three key vocabulary terms when looking at this. First one is the tough to say, tongue twister sometimes. Dividend, which is 1/3. That is the number that is going to be divided. So our first number here is our dividend. It's going to be divided by. The divisor is the actual number or fraction you're dividing by. So 9 is our divisor because that's what we're dividing by. 1/3, which is our dividend, divided by 9, which is our divisor. And then our quotient. Our quotient, which is going to be our answer to a division problem. So here's some handy-dandy fancy vocabulary terms in math when referring to a division problem. You have your dividend, your divisor, and your quotient. Now let's take a look at how to solve this problem. I have the problem up here with the answer, but I'm not really sure how we got that answer. Well, this is where the algorithm comes in. An algorithm is kind of like when you're making, say, like macaroni and cheese, or say even like chocolate milk, something like that. You have to follow directions to have that come out the way you want it to be. So let's use our macaroni and cheese. You look at the back of the box. You read the directions. It'll tell you first, boil the water, then put the noodles in, then drain the water out. Add your cheese and milk and butter, and then stir it all together. You have to follow those directions in order to get the macaroni and cheese to come out the right way. Otherwise, if you do them in any old order, who knows what you're going to get. Same thing applies with our division problem. This is going to be our algorithm, or our rules to follow. Our first rule is you're going to rewrite the first fraction. Our second rule is you're going to change the division sign to a multiplication sign. Our third rule is then you're going to use the reciprocal of the next fraction. And lastly, you're going to multiply the fractions together to get the quotient. Now you might be reading these directions and saying, huh? What? I don't get it. Well, let's take a look in this problem here. I did 1/3 divided by 9. Okay, let's follow step 1. It says rewrite the first fraction. Well, if it's 1/3, I'm just going to rewrite it as 1/3. Let's look at step 2. Change the division sign to multiplication. Okay, so I change it to multiplication. Step 3, it says use the reciprocal of the next fraction. Well, I know that 9 is the same thing as 9/1, so the reciprocal of that, remember recip and flip, we're going to flip it to 1/9. Okay? And then step 4 says to multiply the fractions together to get the quotient. Okay, well 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 9 is 27, so 1/3 divided by 9 equals 1/27. So again, it's kind of like a recipe for macaroni and cheese here. Follow our steps there in the back here, and if I follow each one of these steps in order, I'm going to be able to solve my division problem. Alright, let's take a look at our next problem here. Again, this is going to be your turn. It says solve the following division problem and write the steps, or the algorithm, you use to solve it. I've now threw that curveball at you again. 2 3/4 divided by 6. Go ahead and make sure you got that paper ready, get that pencil out, and go ahead and pause this video and we'll see what you come up with. Okay, when taking a look at our problem up here, I have 2 3/4 divided by 6. And then you had to come up with the answer and also the steps you use to solve it. Let's take a look. If I have 2 3/4 divided by 6, what's the first thing I could do in this problem? Well, we can use what you guys like to call that backward C. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. Keep 4 on the bottom. So I changed my mixed number into an improper fraction to get 11/4 here. Well, now I have 11/4 divided by 6. Well, this is where we can now follow that algorithm from the first problem. Keep my first fraction the same, change division to multiplication, use the reciprocal of 6/1 to 1/6, then multiply across. So 11 times 1 would be 11. 4 times 6 would be 24. So 2 3/4 divided by 6 would be 11/24. Let's take a look at our rules. Ooh, there's an extra rule in here. Rule 1. Rewrite the mixed number as an improper fraction. 2. Rewrite the first fraction. 3. Change the division multiplication sign. Use the reciprocal of the next fraction and multiply the fractions together to get the quotient. Oh, what's that? You notice something? This looks really similar to the first one. It does. You're right. The only thing that's different is step 1. We're changing our mixed number into, an improper fraction here. That's the only thing that was different in this problem. The algorithm still stays the same. We're still rewriting the first fraction. We're still changing it to a multiplication problem. We're still using the reciprocal of the second fraction. And we're still multiplying our fractions together to get our quotient. So again, when attacking any type of division problem involving fractions, you can follow these simple rules up here and you'll be able to find your quotient. Thank you for tuning into this Math Extravaganza. As always, we'll see you next time.